So on Cindy D'Agostino's 1970 Challenger, this is really neat. A few years ago, when Dave Walden was alive, he owns ECS. He's the guy that we would buy all of our label information kits from and some other stuff. He had a conversation with Tony about this car, that we were doing it, and he wanted to order a system from him, an exhaust system from him. They had a nice long conversation, and because Dave knew Tony's history and Tony knew Dave's, and they were old friends and they'd been to the OE Nationals together, even competing, Dave wanted to make sure that the system we put on his car was actually factory as could be. In the case of an E-body, from the factory, the head pipes were welded to the resonators. And then the over-axle pipe and the mufflers and the hangers in the back and the tips, they were all put on after that. It wasn't clamped on like you saw our systems before, which is, it's perfectly fine. If you're working at home, you should do that. If you don't have access to a welder, you definitely should get the clamp-on style resonators. But in this case, Dave wanted to make sure that it was factory. So today we get to install that system, and this will be the first set of weld-on resonators we've ever done. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is install the left-hand head pipe. We're gonna slide it over the top of our little hanger here. This will go up into place here.
As kids, you know, pulling exhausts, I don't remember if they were welded or clamped. Usually the ones that were clamped had so much rust on them that we ended up cutting them anyway. So I only remember just cutting them off to get them out of the way. We always had to clamp them back on.
So now we're gonna install the right-hand head pipe. So slide it over our holder here. And then come in here. Nice. Now putting these resonators on is very crucial. You have the head pipe has to be bolted down into place, and then when you set the resonator up, you have to make sure that it's level to the earth, or it should be, even though the factory was pretty bad at it. We try to get it set exactly where it goes, and the trajectory coming off of it is perfect. Because remember, we're doing this for Philly steak, right? He's back there right now on his fourth sandwich, and all he's doing is calling me, blowing up my phone. When I go in there, my phone will have 20 messages. Hey, did you get those welded on that there? You know, those gotta be perfect. That's gotta be perfect coming out. He's nuts.
Tony's been taking these cars apart for so long and you know, paying attention to how they come apart, how they go together, that he's very attentive to the details.
So I've got to make sure they're perfect and they're exactly where they're supposed to be. One is total respect for ECS who made the darn system. Two is for nutcase Tony.
I think Tony knows a lot more than Mark.
Now, the beautiful thing, Cindy doesn't care. Cindy's never going to look underneath that car and say, wow, that resonator's a little bit crooked. But Tony is, and he's going to live on it. There's a part coming up a little bit later when he visited with us where he goes berserk. I'll share that with you later. But trust me, these have to go on right. Perfect. God, that's beautiful. Look at how they're just identical. Once we have these resonators in place where they go, it's a tack weld process. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. We just need to make sure that when we take the head pipe back down, that resonator does not move. Because where it's at is where we're going to do a solid weld.
You know, with the clampable exhaust systems, they're pretty much adjustable. You can get them in place, tighten them up as you go, and you've got, you know, some adjustment if it gets crooked. By welding them, they're there. You can't move them after you get them welded. If you know much about welding, the metal will actually move when you weld it. You weld on one side, and it will pull it one way. You weld on the other side, and it will pull it the other way. I actually learned that from welding. We were setting cabinets at OSU. And the guy was welding these big metal tube frames that we bolted cabinets to. And he had me hold a level on it, and he would run a bead, and it would go toward the weld he did, or he would weld it on the other side, and it would go that way. It was the weirdest thing. Welding is an art that I wish I would have learned. I wish I wouldn't have cut that class in school.
Once we have them tack welded in place, we take the head pipes with the resonators fixed down to the body men. They are going to clean that area up where it needs welded, and they're going to do a 360-degree weld, a solid weld, so it can't leak. Do as good a weld as you can, probably much better than the factory ever did.
Shane's been working for Mark off and on for, gosh, 20 years. The guy is really good at what he does. He understands how metal moves. And there again, that's part of the art of it. Knowing how it moves, you know, what it takes to move it, the way you want it to move. I like to watch it. Like I said, I wish I wouldn't have cut that class.
After that, it comes back over and we can install the head pipes.